It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Monday, December 23rd. Your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is always excited for a Festivus for the rest of us. Russ.
Oh, Festivus is great.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 years, Russ Cohen. You can keep the season going with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started and to keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news. You can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite socials, including Blue Sky, and of course here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, just a bit of housekeeping here. It is the big holiday week, so we aren't technically going to have an episode on Christmas Day, but we will have an episode. Our Wednesday, Thursday show will be a combined preview for World Juniors, including a bunch of Flyers prospects to talk about. So excited to get into that later this week. On today's show, we are going to preview tonight's matchup against the Pittsburgh Penguins, the first of the long holiday road trip for the Flyers, and of course, name our nemesis this week. So much happened prior to the game against Columbus, Russ. I think the biggest sort of newsy thing that happened was sending Emil Andrae down to the Phantoms. And I think I was both surprised and not surprised by the move, given how he played and given Torts and what he actually said publicly about Andrae's game performance. It seemed like that one game back wasn't enough to satisfy whatever it was that Torts needed to see, and that it would be better for him to work on things and play than to sit in the press box.
Okay, but why would he have to sit in the press box? He's still better than Jamie Drysdale. He's still better than Yegor Zamula. Like, they're hiding behind the shield now of development. That's what John is doing. And there's nobody in the press box that believes it. Only he is saying it, and I don't even think a lot of fans believe it. You had pointed out the record with Andrae in there. Was that on the previous show?
Yeah.
There's just real no good justification for this. Sorry.
Correct. This is just from Torts' perspective. And that's essentially what he said, right? That Andrae's play wasn't good enough. And, you know, I actually did watch his first game back with the Phantoms already. We'll talk more about it on tomorrow's show when we do Phantoms Tuesday, but there was a lot of mistakes defensively in that game. I understand it's very jarring to get
It
sent
is.
back
It's
down.
jarring and familiarity. You got to kind of get back into that flow.
But he was very aggressive on the power play in that game and basically showed what he does best to a large degree.
That's his that's his big skill. That puck movement and his speed passing, those are his big skills. Like, we know this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk more about that on tomorrow's show. But that, of course, meant that Yegor Zamula was still in the lineup. Drysdale was still in
Drysdale was noticeable. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, because of this upcoming road trip, the Flyers needed an extra forward on hand. They, for emergencies.
Gee, why do they need another forward for emergencies? Because they had three goalies?
Also because Sean Couturier was out, you know?
But that's a part of it too. The three goalie thing is a part of it.
Correct. And that's why they hadn't had an extra rostered forward, was because of the three goalie situation. So all of that led to Olle Lycksell getting a call up, I think, to get a look to be that extra forward on the road trip. And I think that, first off, Olle Lycksell was the right forward to call up, hands down. He had just had a hat trick the night before in the Phantoms game, has been really successful finding his shot.
He's been bringing it. We've been talking about it slowly. He's about a point a game now where he should be. And that's good.
Leading the Phantoms in scoring now. I mean, partially because of that hat trick, but still, you had to get there
Yeah.
collectively. So there's something to be said there. And I think, all of this is coming together to a head in terms of the goaltending dilemma, right?
It's only a dilemma because it's not good. The goaltending's ranked 30th in the league. So I look at the Flyers as a developing team. I don't think about the playoffs like the coach does. I also talk to people outside of the city about what they think of Sam Ersson, and they mostly come up with the same conclusion I do, that he is not a number one goalie. So they're still in a search for a number one goalie. And I think what Charlie did post game, bringing up Fedotov, is the right thing to do because they literally have to figure out who their next number one goalie is going to be, because right now there is no clear cut answer. And being 30th in the league's not good enough. And they're basically now, the coach is kind of shielding all the goalies by saying, well, this is everybody, like it's a hydra. And
No, that's not what he's saying.
Fedotov, but he's still a part of it because he's there. But he is not.
He literally said post game, both are goaltenders. That's two.
Well, okay. So, right. But he should be saying three because he's still up there. So he's invisible.
You're right.
Okay.
He should be saying.
But all right. So we'll just take the two-headed goalie. Both the goaltenders still give up 3.31 goals per game. They score 3 goals a game. The math's not hard to do.
Right. And that's where I think the problem is. And Charlie O'Connor asked Torts about the goalie situation pre-game, in terms of, is there even a thought of giving Ivan Fedotov?
Yeah, that's what was mixing in my head when he asked that. It was a good question to ask.
Yeah, it was a great question. And, in terms of the recent struggles of Ersson and Kolosov, and Torts said no, even though the struggle is there. And then post-game, Torts said, yeah, there have been a bunch of saves that Ersson should have been making and have not. But they're staying with because it's the decision we made. He said both our goalies post-game. And Torts said the goalies are a part of the problem, but not the problem, essentially, in the post-game.
Okay. But one thing that he's not talking about that we're noticing, and that's me, Anthony Mingione, a few others, why is Ersson playing so deep in the net? He's been doing this for 2 or 3 games, and now when the puck is close on the goal line, it's over, or he is late to getting into an area because he's jammed in the back of the net. This is like 3 to 4 years ago.
He can't get over to the other side. Because of that exact issue.
But this is like 3-4 years ago they were doing this with goalies. Why is this happening now?
Yeah, it's really noticeable because Columbus had several open net opportunities because Ersson was stuck because he was too far back in the net and he could not get over to cover the far side of the net. And I noticed, the Flyers scored 2 technically open net goals against Columbus in that game, which was great because of the puck movement. But Elvis Merzlikins was not too far back in the net to get over. Those were just really great passes, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there was
a difference there that I noticed.
There's a difference. No, and that's something that's really not being addressed. So I don't know why they're continuing on this journey with having Ersson play this way, but they are.
Right. And I feel like I would really like to talk to the goalie coach here and see what
they're not
going
going to
on,
make
but
him
that's
available.
I know, but it was a little rough there.
Yeah.
So it is certainly a dilemma. And is Fedotov even going to travel on the road trip?
That's a great question.
I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't have to. I mean, but I don't know. But when you only mention 2 goalies and you have 3, you have to have the GM speak at some point to ask why this is happening. And you're holding on to 3 goalies because the coach is basically saying, I don't need this other guy.
Right.
And if the coach is saying that, why is it taking up a roster spot?
A very good question, Russ. That is above our pay grade at this point.
Yeah, apparently so.
So the other big question, I think, for this game against Columbus was Cam York. And he had a big test coming back into the lineup. Coach called him out, said he had to play better. Do you think A, did he play better? And B, do you think he played to Torts' standard and expectation?
I mean, I think he played better. Nobody was particularly good defensively in that game, but I think he played better.
Yeah, I
His
think so
standard,
too.
I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what his standard is anymore based on what he's telling me about Andre, what he's telling me, not telling me about Drysdale. So I'm not sure what his standard is anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing because I don't know that I know either. I understand in terms of, his offensive push, and I think York did do that. You saw him coming
He did. He had a
forward.
nice backhand shot on goal. That
Yeah,
was a good play on a
yeah,
little mini breakaway. That was good.
yeah, and I think, I thought he played solidly defensively with a couple of miscues, but nothing major, so I thought it was a good game. I think it's gonna take more than one game to
Of course.
satisfy Torts, but there's so much more to talk about with this game, including a big night for the Cates line, a big night for Owen Tippett, some line switcheroos that actually were really effective in this game. And we're going to get to that, plus preview Flyers versus Pens coming up next. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any other of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pixmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. Prize Picks also offers fun weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday, where select player projections are discounted up to 25%. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, on tomorrow's show, we will be recapping the Pens game, the first of the big road trip. Plus, we'll have Phantoms Tuesday. There is so much to talk about with our Lehigh
So
Valley
much.
Phantoms. 2 crazy games in a row with the same 7-2 score going in opposite directions, and it was just madness. Plus, we will answer your mailbag questions on our Wednesday, Thursday show this week. So get those in. You can email us at lockdownflyers@gmail, send us a message on any of our socials, or comment on our YouTube channel. So I want to talk about the Cates line in this game. And pregame, when they set the lines, before some of the shuffling, that was the one line that stayed intact. And we said as much on previous shows that I
Yes.
think, there was some shuffling that could take place, but they should not change up that line. They didn't. And a lot more production again from this line with Cates and Forrester each getting a goal and an assist in that game.
Yeah, no, they look good. Cates is a catalyst. He's right now, he's the best player on the team all around, like for the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, and especially with Sean Couturier out of the lineup, they needed
Yeah,
somebody at center to step up, and he
they did.
100% did that.
Absolutely. He stepped up in every way, and he definitely sparks the team. There's no question about that.
Yeah, the other thing that was great about this game is Owen Tippett and his playmaking. And Torts called it out a little bit post game as well, and highlighted it that not only is Tippett like shooting much better now and scoring, but he made a couple of key passes in this game that led to goals. And I think that that elevates his game a little bit as well.
Well, I saw one key pass. Are we calling the other one that he tried to shoot that got blocked that went to a flyer and went in a pass? Because that really isn't a pass. But he had one
Well,
key pass
okay. He
because
did.
he was trying to
Okay.
shoot that puck. I was watching that pretty intently. But he did have a good game. And I still don't think he's the player that he was last year, but he's at least more on track for that now than he was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I talked about getting those open net chances that a couple of them went in for the Flyers in this game. And that's something that they had been lacking, right?
Yeah,
Is the puck movement in order to create those chances. So
correct.
somebody like Morgan Frost just had to bang the puck home. Noah Cates just
Right,
bang the puck home, like
right.
easy peasy, right?
Yeah.
And I think that you have to create those opportunities for yourself. They don't usually just magically happen. There's of course weird bounces, but I feel like, this game they were at least like trying to do those things.
No, they definitely were. And Columbus is a team that you could do it against. They score a lot of goals, but they give up a lot of goals too.
Right.
So those opportunities were there. I don't know if those opportunities are going to be there against every team, but we'll see how that plays out when they start matching up against other teams. But in this one, it worked. Frost definitely had a good game. A lot of people have been, down on him, but I don't think his play has been that bad. I just think people are now getting conditioned into thinking he's disappointing.
Right, but I think he played very well, and I
He
think
did.
Torts recognized that as well, so that was good to see him say that. I think as far as the other forwards, Farabee and Mitchkov were noticeably absent on the score sheet
Yeah, they
in
were
this
bad.
game.
Not noticeably absent, bad. Mitchkov hasn't had a shot on goal in 5 games.
Mm,
I mean, that's bad. That's reverting back to, early season stuff for him. Against the Kings, he was a -4. Against Detroit, he was a -2. Against Minnesota, he was a -2. His ice time has been up and down. And Farabee is just completely frustrated,
yeah.
and it almost doesn't matter what line he's on. He might get a chance or two a game that make you say, okay, there's something still there with Farabee, but it's just not good. But not finding a spot for Mitchkov is a problem.
Yeah, it really is. I think, I'm not like very worried yet. I think that he's a rookie and he's going to have ebbs and
Sure,
flows
they're
to
going to
his
have ups and
season.
downs, but this is clearly a point in the season now where he needs help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as far as the Farabee thing goes, this was his lowest ice time in a month that he
Yeah.
was given. And based on how Olle Lycksell played, some quality chances there. His goal
Oh
was
yeah.
taken away because of the
Yeah.
offside.
Too bad.
Um, Solid play. I mean, I do not think it's out of the realm of possibility that Farabee sits and Lycksell plays in at least 1 or 2 games on this road trip.
I would do it only because I think Farabee needs the break, but also I like the occasional like acceleration that Lixell has when he has the puck
Mhm.
that gives them a little charge and gets him, some scoring chances.
I think, the other main player we gotta talk about is Jamie Drysdale. I thought
Yeah,
he was a mess, I would say, in this
abysmal,
game.
abysmal. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go so far as to say Jamie Drysdale is not fitting in with this John Tortorella system. He is not. He's got 5 points. If you want to play a game, and I did it just to look it up, Cutter Gauthier has 12 or 13 points. I mean, fans are starting to grumble about that. And I think the Flyers are kind of forcing this situation with Drysdale where it's almost hurting their defense. It is
Oh,
because I'm not sure what he's contributing anymore other than, yes, he's fast. And once in a while, he does something good with the puck, but he's not scoring points and he's not playing defense. Him and Zamula, that was just one of the worst
oh,
pairings
man.
that we've seen.
It was, and on the power play, Zamula, like, other players were literally covering for him on the
Yeah.
power play,
Yeah.
backing like, doing puck
That's
support,
not his
backing him
fault.
up.
He should not be
No.
on it. It's not his fault.
Yeah, yeah, I
He's
agree,
being
but
forced into something that he shouldn't be doing.
it was not good. It was not good out there. So I think, something's got to give there. And that's, the Emil Andrae of it all, which we'll talk more about on tomorrow's show. But tonight is Flyers versus Pens, the first game of our big road trip, first game against Pittsburgh this season. Again, absolutely bonkers that it took until December 23rd for that to happen.
Crazy.
They got shut out 3-0 against the Devils on Saturday night. They only had 12 shots on goal the entire game. That's more of a credit to New Jersey,
I
I
think
would
so.
say, than a ding on Pittsburgh per se.
Yeah.
Tristan Jarry played in that game, 25 saves on 27 shots there. Their 3 previous games before that were all overtime games where they
Right.
won 2 of them and lost 1 of them there. But
Sounds
Sidney
familiar.
Sidney Crosby got off the schneid, so we're safe there.
That's an important thing because
Yeah.
otherwise he might have
Yeah.
scored 4 against the Flyers just because.
But I would say like Brian Rust is really the standout player in Pittsburgh right now,
I've
right?
always talked about him. I mean, I don't know why people have felt like he was like riding the coattails of Crosby. He could score on his own and he could be an igniter. He's not the biggest guy, but I'll tell you, he knows where to go to score goals. So yes, he's a dangerous player.
Yeah, and given all of that, given Crosby and Rust, who's been playing very well, he's been like their overtime hero recently, kind of
Yeah.
like not Olle Lycksell, Owen Tippett.
Oh, it's yeah.
Um, recently, but Pittsburgh's power play is, 7 percentage points higher than the Flyers, so that's pretty dangerous. Their penalty kill is now better than the Flyers, who are mid-league now
Yeah, they're
on
mid
the
in both,
penalty
15 and
kill.
16, the Flyers.
Yep. And, I think that the Pens have struggled scoring a little bit, and they do allow a lot of goals. At least they have this season
Yes.
overall. Both
There's opportunities for sure.
there's opportunities on both sides for both reasons. They're very similar in that way.
I think it's going to be a lot like the Columbus game, to be honest. And
Yeah.
this time the Flyers were fortunate to come out on the winning side of it, but it's going to be a lot like that. I don't think either team's going to shut down the other team. I don't. So it's just going to be, we'll see what happens, in the end. They certainly have a chance to win it, but I do think the Flyers kind of need to kind of tighten it up. I get maybe why they loosened it up yesterday, the last game, because yes, things weren't looking good for 2 periods. For 2 periods, it was maybe the worst 2 periods of Flyers hockey all year. So I don't think that's an exaggeration, just from a boring and not much happening standpoint. Then the floodgates opened. I don't think it'll be like that in the Pittsburgh game, but I just think there's going to be a ton of opportunities.
Yeah, I think so too. But should be a fun one, to say the least. It's
Should be.
always interesting when the Flyers head into Pittsburgh, and we'll see how it goes. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, it is Monday, so we will have our Nemesis of the week coming up next.
The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. Not only can you bet on who will win the football game, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will each team score, and so much more. And for NHL picks, there are so many options, like first goal scored, player shots on goal, thresholds, over under on total goals, and more. I would pick Kansas City on Christmas Day because they just don't lose. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right. Before we dig into our Nemesis of the week, Russ, you had a book come out recently.
I did. Yeah, it's not in my hand yet. It's out there on Amazon. Thanks for asking. It's called Game Winners: The Greatest Goals in NHL and Olympic History. There is a goal from the women's Olympic team in there. There's a bunch of Flyers goals in there. So yeah, I think they'll really like it, and we rank them. So that's where you'll get mad at me.
Excellent. Always love getting mad at a ranked list. It's why I tend to avoid them. Making them myself, I should say.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to reading it myself. As for our Nemesis of the week, last week I talked about the schedule and it being repeat week with another Detroit and Columbus game so close, and the fact that we weren't playing the Pens until today. And you talked about holiday packaging, and if there was a special holiday edition of something, like
just throw Santa on anything, it'll sell.
Yeah, right. So this week for me, obviously on the Flyers side of things, it's this Disney on Ice road trip that the Flyers do every year. This time they added this Pens game at the front end and a Toronto Maple Leafs game at the back end of it. So it's the 4, West Coast games, like the 3 California teams and Vegas, but then you have sandwiched like 2 others. So that's 6 games in a row on the road. It's brutal. The time zone is terrible for us. I do not like it. My other small nemesis here is AMC A-List, the movie theater. And
Oh,
I am an A-List person here because it makes it easier to book movies and selecting seats and all of that. But the problem is they only let you have, even though you're allowed in A-List to see 3 movies a week, even if these movies are like months down the road, you can only have 3 movies booked at any given time.
mm.
So if I want to
So you
watch,
can't
like,
pre-book.
you can't pre-book more than 3.
Oh, that's
So
not good.
even though you're allowed to watch 3 in a week. So like I wanted to book a Christmas Day movie and a New Year's Day movie, right? But I also have one booked for February. That's a special screening, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't add an additional movie now. And it just is really annoying. So let me just book another movie, AMC. That's really what I would
Please,
like to do.
AMC. We're begging you. All right.
Because, yeah.
No,
Anyway.
I'm with you. All right. So I'm going to talk about the bane of our existence, gift cards. Stores want to sell you gift cards in hopes that you'll forget it. If you forget it, then they just keep the money. People like buying gift cards because they're just out of ideas for you and they're going to just give you a gift card. To be honest, if you're out of ideas for me, give me cash. I'll take the cash and I'll do whatever I want with it. Even my parents, after a while, when they just, or grandparents were good for giving cash, right? Because grandparents are just like, listen, we're old. We don't have too much time to figure out what you want, but here's the cash. Just go buy what you want. Grandparents are great for that. At least mine did that. And I feel like a lot of others have done that over the years. But like some of these gift cards, you got to be careful. Some of these credit card ones have a fee. So like the more times you use it, the more the fee pops in. So like if I see one of those, I make sure if it's a $50 one, I'm doing a $50 purchase. So I'm only losing the $250 once and not like 4 times. So just, be careful. But I think now there's one thing that's even worse than a gift card, and that's a digital gift card. Like we've gotten to the point now where there's places advertising, buy our digital gift card. Yeah, so you hope you lose it in your email and nobody ever uses it, and it's just extra money sold for your company. I don't know. I'm not a fan of gift cards, and I think as we get closer to the holidays, they become a default or a fallback, but use cash. Cash works.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person and the gift
Uh-huh.
card, I think, to a large degree, because there are some people, like I've bought gift cards for people,
If
but
you know that
it is
person is
like,
in that place
right.
every week, like Starbucks, fine. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Like, somebody and this is specific to their personality.
But if I
But
bought
like,
you one for like, and I'm just going to use an arbitrary, Rachel, this holiday season, you get one from me from the Gap.
right.
Like, what are
Like,
you going to?
no. And like, because that like is generic. Even if you know that I like the Gap, it's still kind of generic and not
Right.
thoughtful.
Right.
Right. So I get it. But it's also easier in terms of like shipping and all of that. Like that's why I
Sure.
like the electronic ones to a large degree, because you don't actually have to worry about the physical card.
No,
But
but it is easier to forget. You have to have a
it is
code.
true.
Yeah.
It's true. There are pros and cons absolutely on that. I think, and I've given like money toward like theater tickets, like to the TKTS booth, right?
Yeah.
Or, somebody goes to Soul Cycle. So I gave them a
If you want
gift
to have
card
something
for
that's
a
good
class,
digital,
right?
yeah. You want something that's good digital, do like a digital scratch off for the lottery, because those things are awful. They make a
Oh God,
gigantic
that's
mess.
dangerous.
But they make a gigantic mess. Like, ever see people when they're doing these scratch offs? It's like, they're blowing all that, whatever that is, all over the place. That residue. It's gross. Just go with a digital scratch off. That would be better.
All right, that's all your last minute shopping tips from us for the holidays this year. Yeah, I luckily I have like one more thing I got to take care of, and then I am good to
But
go.
even one
So,
right now, you're on the, it's getting late. Everything gets worse. Everything gets heightened, and you're trying. To me, I'm trying. If I have to run in for something, I'm trying to find that last minute moment where there might not be people. But like I want to say 3 years ago, right at holiday time, someone just ran through a light and ran into my car and destroyed my car. Why? Because, and they even said, I was trying to get a sale at the Christmas tree store, or whatever that place is, the Christmas store, and now I regret it. And it was that person's fault. And it's like, just slow down out there. The holidays it's gonna come whether you drive faster or not.
yep. It is a strange time of year for sure. All right, that will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. We will, of course, be back tomorrow to talk Flyers versus Pens and the wild week in Lehigh Valley. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. So if you've got mailbag questions or Flyers thoughts, let us know on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on YouTube. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on those same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great Festivus, everyone.